It's been a while. Today I'm going to be ranking create mod add-ons because you guys liked my last ranking video so much. I'm not really going to cover the add-ons in detail. This isn't really going to be a showcase. It's more so I can enlighten you with my questionable opinion. And I'm going to be giving each mod a letter ranking on a tier list this time. Okay, there's not really much else, so let's just get into them. Does anyone even play the create mod without this add-on? Like, in my mind, this is just basically vanilla create. Demon Rails takes what is arguably the best part of the create mod, the trains, and makes it even better, somehow. Some of its features include differently sized tracks, more customization, this little guy, and a whole lot of decoration. I would say this mod kind of fills in some of the holes the create mod has regarding its trains. Just features that should definitely be in the base mod. In fact, so much so, I honestly couldn't tell you why the create mod developers haven't added these additions. In my opinion, one of the most underrated features of this mod is this thing. Having the ability to place down a train wherever you are is so useful when building large-scale railway systems, especially considering in Vanilla Create you have to build a whole damn train and it's just so annoying and convoluted. Because everything in Demon Rails is either quality of life or decoration, there's no real reason not to include this add-on in your mod pack as it doesn't really affect gameplay that much. Oh, and not to mention the blocks included in Demon Rails can be used for much more than just trains. I think the entire create mod community will unanimously agree that this is a great extension. S tier. So, if I'm being honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. Create Big Cannons unsurprisingly adds a bunch of cannons and different types of artillery to the create mod. Now, this mod is objectively very well made. There's so much customization in setting up cannons, and the way you load the artillery is so incredibly satisfying. But the thing is, I include this add-on every single time I start a new create mod playthrough, but I've never actually used it. Now, this might be because I have no friends, but also I think this mod is made for a very specific demographic. Now, even if I had friends, blowing their bases up with anti-aircraft armor-piercing artillery rounds would probably make them pretty angry. This mod is mainly made for people who like blowing things up in creative mode, or people who like blowing their friends up, probably also in creative mode, because these things aren't cheap. Once again, I don't think this add-on is badly made, in fact, far from it. I just think its use cases are pretty rare. It does get bonus points for pairing great with Clockwork though. C tier. Enchantment Industry adds an intuitive way to automate enchanting to the create mod. You can now give blaze burners these little enchanting guides and force them to enchant your tools for you. The only criticism I have for this add-on is that it's perhaps a little overpowered. That's it? 97 millibuckets? If you think villagers are strong, you're gonna have a field day with this one. This mod gives you the ability to print enchanted books, which essentially means duplicating them. So if you have a single mending book and like 4 drops of XP, well, your tools are never gonna break again. This, I guess, can be seen as a pro Oricon. You could say it speeds up the early game so you're able to put more of your focus onto other create mod shenanigans, I don't know. Aside from automating enchanting, this add-on also offers hyper experience, which can be used to hyper enchant your tools. This essentially allows you to go beyond the enchantment cap. This is a good feature, this is a TIDS approved feature. I think the way this add-on does this is so balanced. It's annoying to get hyper XP, but it feels so rewarding when you've got efficiency 6 or unbreaking 4 on your tools. This also means in order to get the new god tools, you're forced to engage with this mod, and it makes you work for it. A tier. Okay, to be completely honest, I can't 100% properly speak on this add-on. I think the main purpose of a mod like Crafts and Additions is to bridge the gap between create mod and other mods like immersive engineering, so my take might be a little skewed because I don't play with these mods ever. With that being said, this mod adds the ability to convert stress into electricity and vice versa. And outside of just being used for other mods that require electricity, this add-on still has some pretty good use cases. There are many benefits to converting your stress into electricity. I've actually already explained this in one of my survival episodes. Electricity has 2 major advantages over SU. Firstly, it's very easily transportable, but most importantly, it can be accumulated, stored in a block, ready to be discharged for later use. Now this is important because the vanilla create mod doesn't actually allow you to do this, and as an added bonus, the wires look pretty cool. This mod isn't crazy or anything, but it definitely comes in handy a few times in my survival playthroughs. B tier. New Age is another electricity mod. It does add some other features which I'll get into in a second. The problem with this mod is that the way you generate electricity is way less convenient and more expensive than Crafts and Additions. Though it does let you generate additional stress using motors, which is pretty cool. I would say the main selling point of this mod over Crafts and Additions is nuclear power. You're able to make these boiler heaters using nuclear fuel made up of a new ore called thorium found in your world, and these heaters essentially act as super blaze burners. To be completely honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I always thought the nuclear power seemed a bit underwhelming. I mean, it's a lot of work for not that much of a payout because you can just do the same thing with a blaze burner anyway. I think it would have been really cool to see a feature only accessible through nuclear power. I also personally don't really like some of the textures in this mod. I think it sometimes doesn't really fit with the create mod aesthetic. C tier. With the introduction of copycat blocks in the vanilla create mod, people naturally wanted more. That's where this mod comes in. Create Copycats Plus basically lets you turn any block into any shape. This mod makes building more interesting, but I can see why people would dislike it, as it adds non-vanilla looking shapes to the game. But personally, I like how it gives you more creative potential. I've used these slopes in a number of my builds. A popular use for this add-on that I always see is people using it to make their trains look more spacious, as these panels can be placed as the walls, giving the illusion that it's only 3 blocks wide. There's not much to say about this add-on. I personally find it really useful, but I can't really justify ranking it too high as it objectively doesn't really add that much. B tier. Now, ever since I was like 10, I've always been fascinated with mods that allow you to move your own builds. This started with the Zeppelin mod like over 10 years ago. Side note, it's crazy that a mod like this existed almost 14 years ago? Has it been that long? Every few years or so, a new mod of this nature would come out. I remember the Archimedes ships mod, and everything else is kind of not really retained by my brain. Anyway, you can imagine how excited I was to hear about Create Aeronautics and Valkyrian Sky's Clockwork. Unfortunately, only Clockwork has been released, so that's all we have to work off of. Clockwork allows the player to build physics objects and then move them using Create contraptions. It is mainly used to build planes and boats where the sky's the limit. Literally. It's integrated pretty well into Create, all of the features are in line with the base mod, and I like the added challenge of powering the contraption with stress. This means you have to balance aesthetics with some kind of engine, unless you're messing around in creative. The physics also feels great. The devs have stated that they attempted to find a middle ground where the physics feel kind of realistic, but not too much so, where anything you build will nosedive straight into the ground because you're not an aerospace engineer, and I think they did a pretty good job. Designing your plane is a good challenge, but with trial and error, it's not too hard to make something that flies. Or you can copy a design off the internet. This mod is an easy S tier. Except for the fact that it's literally unplayable at times due to how unpolished it is. Oh, I hate having to bump this mod down because it's conceptually so cool, but I swear to God, sometimes it feels like this mod breaks more than it works. It's really frustrating too because the plane you've just spent so much time on will suddenly just disappear off the face of the earth and you won't be able to do anything about it. I made a plane in my survival series a few months back, and the reason it hasn't appeared in any of the following episodes is because off camera a creeper exploded near it and the blast force sent the thing into orbit. Like, I'm not even joking, I wish I had footage of this. Both seem to work though, so at least it has that going for it. Even with that, this mod is still great, and with a bit of polishing, I can see this becoming one of the best Create mod add-ons for sure. I guess we'll just have to wait for Create Aeronautics though. A tier. Okay, Create Broken Bad gives you the ability to make a questionable substance in a process which seems incredibly realistic. I mean, I wouldn't know. Seriously, even downloading this mod makes me feel like I'm on some kind of watch list. The process is long and complicated, so if you're into that, I guess give this one a go. When you've acquired the goods, you're able to sell it to villagers for emeralds, and that's about it. Okay, not to be the mayor of Frowntown or anything, but aside from being kind of funny, this add-on is basically pointless. I mean, after like 20 steps, you get like 3 emeralds. And yes, you're gonna say you're missing the point of this add-on, and yeah, maybe, but you also can't really refute the fact that this mod kind of adds nothing. I mean, like, are you seriously gonna do all this in survival? D tier. Dreams and Desires adds a bunch of things. A few of my favorites are these mechanisms that give you an alternate crafting recipe to a whole bunch of blocks, which makes automation easier and faster. These sails you can use for your encased fans because using liquids is really annoying, and the OG Flyable engine. This add-on also adds a bunch of decoration, which is always nice to have. Admittedly, a lot of it isn't very Create mod-esque, which is more of a personal preference. Another main feature is the Infa series. Through a long process, you're able to make infinite versions of certain blocks. These blocks basically act like you're in creative. Now, I was originally going to rank this mod lower on the tier list, but when I had a proper play around with it, I actually realized I use this mod so much more than I initially thought. This add-on just adds so many random items, chances are you're gonna find a use for at least one of them. My main criticism is at times it doesn't really fit the theme of the create mod, and also I'm not the biggest fan of the info blocks. I kind of feel like they just purposely made the process incredibly complicated and hard, and all the effort you spent making this block could just have gone towards a factory which basically produces an infinite amount of said block anyway. It does get bonus points for including the shimmer from Terraria though. BTL. Create Connected is a controversial add-on. If you've ever been frustrated about not having a 6-way gearbox, or that regular gearboxes invert the rotation on their sides, this mod is for you. It allows you to make your contraptions a lot more compact by adding a lot of quality of life blocks. Now, this add-on is controversial because it arguably takes some of the fun out of the Create mod. Some people say that having to work around the limitations of the blocks that the Create mod provides is part of the challenge, and having something like a 6-way gearbox makes designing factories too easy, which is definitely a valid point. In my opinion though, or to me at least, the Create mod is about pushing Minecraft automation to its limits and designing creative and cool contraptions. In my mind, this add-on kind of helps with that, and I like having things to be convenient because it means I can focus more on the creative side rather than the logic side of my builds. So personally, I think this is a great addition. I don't want to rank it too high because it doesn't add that much, and it doesn't really alter the gameplay either, but it's still for sure very solid. BTL. That was it for ranking Create mod add-ons. If you have any opinions of your own, make sure to leave a comment down below telling me why I'm wrong and my ranking sucks. If you want to watch me rank other things, go check out my Create mod blocks video. And for those of you who are curious about the survival series, no, I didn't abandon it. The next episode is in the works. I've just been incredibly busy with school. I'll try to get it out soon. Anyway, that's all from me. Bye bye.